I'm going to real quickly thank our sponsors for making this happen. So it starts with the University of Miami School of Business Administration, a sponsor since the get-go. And after this panel, we'll do some around-the-room introductions as well, but I'm sort of short-circuiting a little bit because of the time issue. Also, Diversified Search, and they're the sponsor that's not here yet, but they're going to walk in and make a grand entrance any minute now. And then Littler and Mendelsohn Law Firm is also the sponsor. Those are the three companies that make this event series possible. I think most of you know we do this event series 6 times a year, but it's usually a 90-minute discussion. This is a big ramp up for us, and I'll go into that in more detail in a moment. But I'm going to let Allison very quickly introduce the panelists, and then we're going to get right to it. As she will tell you, I think, or I'll tell you now, the whole idea is interaction, to jump right in when you have questions, comments, ideas, thoughts. And to make it as interactive as possible. So Allison, you introduce the panelists and we'll go.
So now we're in like speed mode here. Welcome everybody. This panel is called The Coming Talent War, Positioning Your Company for Success. And as Ken mentioned, it's meant to be very interactive. So we do invite you to ask questions. We do have a couple of opening questions. So let us get through those if you don't mind. But we're super, super pleased to have here, and I'll start with the professor who's in a rush here. His name is Jose Logi Romero Simpson. He's a full-time lecturer in the Department of Management at the School of Business, University of Miami, and he specializes in organizational behavior, which we think is very relevant to everybody here in terms of HR. He's been a teacher for about 30 years here, and he was previously Dean of the Graduate School of Business at the Universidad del Pacífico in Lima. He's authored many articles, over 20, his latest being Problem-Solving Styles, a Cultural Study, which was published in the Latin American Business Review. He's won numerous awards, many awards for excellence, and from an education perspective, he earned a bachelor's degree with distinction in psychology from the Pontificia Universidad Católica, I don't know if I said that right, and master's and PhD degrees in educational psychology and instructive technology, respectively, from Indiana University. So Logi, welcome.
Thank you, Alice.
Thank you. And we're very happy as well to have Martín Ibáñez Frosham from Mercer. He's a senior partner and runs their talent business for Latin America. He's also a member of their Latin American leadership team, and he was previously the chief operating officer for Mercer in Mexico, and then the country head for Mercer in Argentina. He has worked extensively in the areas of human capital strategy, executive remuneration, leadership development, succession planning, and performance management, among other things. He's also authored a number of different articles. He's published all the time in publications including Clarín and World at Work Journal. Before joining Mercer, he was with IBM. And he has a bachelor's and a master's in pharmacy and biochemistry, which goes right into HR, from the University of Buenos Aires, and an MBA from SEMA in Buenos Aires. He also teaches at SEMA and has served on the faculty at the Universidad del Salvador and the Universidad Torcuato de Tella, and he went to London Business School. So, with that said, and also, by the way, of course, for those of you who don't know, this is Ken Roberts. He's the founder and head of WorldCity. He's sort of the visionary behind pulling everybody together in areas like HR. And that's all I'm going to say because he hates when I talk about him.
So great. So I want all of you in the room, before I ask them to answer this question, to think about how you would answer this question. What is the biggest obstacle to keeping talent in your companies?
I think it's very important.
What was the term you used? Employee effective leadership spotting, I think.
Yes. I think, as I was mentioning before, leadership is really a process, that involves the leader, the followers, and the situation. So, the people who want to become leaders, it's important that they are good scanners of the, what's going on. They have to know that they're in a global marketplace right now to begin with, and there's hardly any business that's strictly domestic because, even a domestic business, you need to get parts from another part, or you have to assemble, the parts and finished products in the house. And then, you do need to understand your followers to do a good job. But now there's a trend, a very strong trend in psychology about, it's called authentic leadership, that, effective leaders, what's going to attract a lot of other people, they're going to make them credible, and I believe that is something, very important. So
that implies not just to the president,
Yeah.
but the HR directors.
Yes, when you attract people, I think it's important to find out that whether they really know who they are, what they want. You know, I mean, asking questions such as how would you describe yourself, you know, and in terms of your qualities and your defects. What are the values that you consider to be the most important, you know, for you, and why? Why? How do they work for you? I mean, what are the goals that you're interested in accomplishing? You know, and you know, where do you see yourself 10 years from now, or 15 years from now, or 20 years from now? And then ultimately, you know, how would you feel that you can contribute to our you know, organization? And I think it's important to find, to spot any kind of inconsistencies and consistencies, ideally, which will, you know, let you know that that person is going to do a good job as a leader. And I think we have overemphasized, you know, the knowledge of the company, well, of the environment, of the culture of the company, you know, and the followers. But there's a lot to be done in terms of the personal strengths that the person brings along, you know, in order to one day become a leader in his or her company. So I think there is a whole, you know, trend. It started by also positive psychology, emphasizing the strengths, right? Getting people, you know, to find out what the strengths are and how to use them effectively in any kind of environment, you know, that they're in. And so it's important that the person knows who they are and how to control themselves and manage themselves. You know, it's crucial. I think that's an ingredient that has been missing for a while, and we should, I think, retake it.
When we analyze the data, why are people leaving organizations, and for instance, we have access to exit interviews, which is a common practice across many organizations.
Your companies do exit interviews most?
Well, I mean, the most important factor why people are leaving is because of issues with their leaders. They are unhappy with their leaders. So I mean, there's a phrase I well known.
And what does that mean? Unhappy with? Does it mean the top leadership is
No, they didn't manager. I mean, they typically people leave their supervisors.
Their supervisor.
They don't leave companies. I mean, that's what I mean. Most people do. So there is a lot of things that companies can do in terms of how they organize the different processes to be more attractive for people to stay. But also there should be a lot of attention about the quality of the leadership, because this is critical for people to keep staying at the companies and making a decision that they would like to commit for another year with that organization.
And what do you advise companies then to do to, you know, there's a mismatch, I think you said it when we talked before the meeting about between the talent that's available, as you were saying, Olivier, and the talent that you need and the talent that's available. So what can companies do? What kind of advantages can companies employ? It helps to be a brand like Olympus, obviously, or Microsoft, or any of the brands. I don't mean to pick anybody else, because they're all good brands here today, but it helps to have that. What can you do?
Yes, I mean, one issue that we see coming up, touch is, the issue of employability. I mean, in Latin America, in most of the countries, there is a significant number of people who are unemployed or who have employments which are not satisfactory, in low quality jobs. So that typically is a focus for some companies for unskilled work, and when they need to hire operators. And what we see that companies are doing that is successful is they invest in improving employability. So I will use one example. For instance, Walmart, they have created a high school in different places, in different countries in Latin America, where they pay, they finance that high school, and so people can go there. They acquire some basic skills which are connected with how you can be effective as a retailer. And they don't have a commitment that they need to work for them, but they have a choice to work for Walmart. So because of that, they are able to access a huge talent pool that otherwise would be unqualified to work for them. I know this will not address the issues of, typically when we talk about professionals and future executives, which is a different topic, but I think it's critical.
It addresses their need.
Yeah, that's their need. If you have to employ people at those levels, I see that the more successful companies are more engaged with the community and to improve the employability from the population.
Are there any particular benefits your companies use that are, you think, the best benefits you have? Anything you've employed recently, tried recently that works or doesn't work? Anything in particular? Are there any other companies that have tried anything interesting that works for them?
No, the issue that I think some other people
Compensation is rarely the ultimate issue, though, right?
Yes, I mean like in the end, yes, but you would have to bear higher costs, and it's difficult to sustain that over time. I mean, like, so I mean it's difficult to resolve this only through compensation. You need to do other things. So the discussion that understanding, for instance, the needs for the different populations and how companies are reorganizing in order to meet the needs from the younger generation, for instance. And like it's much more frequent today if you see that companies they have a flexible schedule, so people can come to a different time of the day. They have implemented that they can work remote, and like they can work in different locations, and dress codes that are less formal from what they used to be, and all those things make the environment more attractive for the employee population, particularly for the younger generation. However, I mean there are many companies that are not ready. I mean this week we were in a roundtable with the HR leaders in Mexico, and I guess half of the audience was not there at all. I mean, they was not even recognizing the need for the younger generation and how companies they need to change the way they work in order to be an attractive place for that generation, and that strikes me anyway. And it's not only this time. I mean, like every time that we talk, I mean, there is part of the ocean that the audience that we miss it. They don't get it.
How many of you have flex time or have, what other things you mentioned? Dress code issues, both work from home or work from remotely. How many of you have those things in your company? Most
Yeah. We actually went to all meetings.
Really?
Year round.
Well, that's great.
So the rules are, so we have possible code
This is Michael Costello from
Clorox. So, I mean, people get store suits going out and stuff, but if you go in the office today, you can work today. That's how you want.
So that's interesting. That's a formal policy for the whole company, or is that Latin
You don't
America?
have to globally.
Wow, that's fantastic.
So you can wear jeans to work every day. I'm sure Levi Strauss might have the same policy.
We did the same thing. We went to a global policy where you can wear jeans even in and throughout Latin America, and we just tell them to use their best judgment when they're going to have customers coming in. They just make announcements, but yeah, the same thing.
I'd like to understand.
You should introduce yourself again.
Sorry, Debbie Hernandez from Latam. What Martin was just saying about understanding the younger generations, I think it's something that we all have already at least cleared, and that we know that we have to. And most of the executives in the companies, I guess. But the biggest challenge for us, and I'd like to hear if it's also a challenge that you have and how you have done it, it's to make the balance and to make the executives in the organization to really commit or to understand the needs of adapting to this new generation. Because we come out with, okay, let's implement flex time. And our flex time has so many limitations because the executives ask for it, because they are afraid to open that much to really offer a flex time, a more broader flex time. So we do have flex time, but we have certain limits within our flex time.
How can it be challenging in your business because you're a business that depends on things happening on time?
Yeah, but those policies does not cover our employees that works on duty. It's only for office employees, the 9 to 5 employees, because the operation is a whole different world, and we know that we cannot be flexible with the operation. But then, so they ask for this openness or this to adapt. But then, when you come up with the ideas, they are afraid to really go all the way. So, did you face the same situations? How you have done it to overcome or to bring the entire executive group to have this mindset to adapt?
I would like to answer since the technology perspective.
You should introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Gabriel Alvarado. I'm responsible of Latin America in Grunge. So we have a huge operation in Mexico. practically more than 1,000 customers today. And one of the things, because our colleague from Mercer, she talked about flexible schedules, just talk about, you say, working remotely or working in a flexible scale, flexible times. So, and I understand, the concerns of the executives because they don't know what's going on. So we have seen, we have a good example because we have implemented technology to enable this and still controlling, let's say, the way that they are working, but giving the opportunity to the employees to have a flexible skill, saying, I want to work from this time to this time, I want to work from this time to this time. And technologically, we can accommodate that and we can track this kind of stuff. So with that, you can give the visibility to the top executives that the people is working, but at the same time, you're giving the opportunity to the employees to select.
But they didn't track, and I think that's something that Generation Y doesn't really relate that well.
I know. I mean, they are very linked with the mobile solution. They are very linked with the social media. So there are some ways to work in their environment that they know very well, and to try to not to get what they want. Not 100%, but you give another opportunity to speak first. So I mean, maybe in our time we can talk a little bit more about that. But it's just, I mean, the way to do it. And we have improved employee satisfaction. We have reduced employee rotation, especially in the retail industry, where 60% of rotation is typical in that industry. I mean, superstores, Walmart, so they have huge rotations. So we have a good examples and good success stories where we have reduced the rotation just because the flexible skills. It's incredible.
How many of you can remember when you left your last job and why you left it?
Sorry, Ken, I have a couple of experiences that I heard recently. One, the leading financial services company, they implemented a program called reverse mentoring. So if they get someone young here with someone very senior, and they need to meet once a month, and the young person was responsible for telling the older leader about how they feel, about what the company is doing, about how leaders behave, so that helps. I mean, for the baby boomers to understand the younger generation. Another program that has been mentioned, they implemented awareness sessions. So they hire someone to come and talk with the baby boomers about the Y generation and the behavior, and they do it like every other month for a number of months. And they also teach the younger generations about baby boomers, so those were some examples. But they struggle a lot with these issues. And one of the issues I hear more frequently is, okay, we need flexible time, they can work from home, but how do we make sure that they produce? That the productivity is still there. And so I see many companies changing the way they structure the jobs or the activities that they need to perform. So they make sure that they can measure that, because if you can measure what people are producing, then you don't need to see them. Because you need them from 8 to 5, sitting in the same place, because that was your security that they are producing what they are expecting to produce. But if you can measure what they are producing, you don't care if they are working at 5 a.m., 7 p.m., from home, from the office, whatever. But it implies a lot of changes, cultural changes, but also changes in how people work and how you organize activities.
And Logi's got some of these younger students he's going to go talk to very briefly. And if you want to say any last closing thoughts before you head off to this next generation?
It's been great to be here, and first in an informal setting over there, to meet some on an informal basis, and now in a more formal basis. Since I really have
come back for lunch if you'd like. I don't know what you're
no,
saying.
unfortunately I can't. But what I want to mention right now is I think it's very important to, when you get a candidate, to make sure that the person is solid and is consistent. As someone who knows himself or herself, fairly well, and knows what he or she wants from life.
How do you measure that?
Getting in an interview to answer a very specific question. The first question would be, I want you to describe yourself in a few words, including your qualities and defects. That's one question. Another question would be, I would like to know exactly what are the values that you treasure the most and why. The third question would be, I would like to know what your goals in life are all about, the most important ones. I would say the fourth question would be, where do you see yourself, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now. And the final one would be a link question. What would your contribution to our organization you think might be? I mean, what might be the best way you can contribute to our organization? And there you can spot any kind of consistencies or inconsistencies, and I think that could be a very valuable, clue for you to realize how mature or how, consistent the person might be. Okay. And I'm terribly sorry, but I have a 10 o'clock class at UM, and my students are waiting for me. So thank you, and I hope you understand. Okay. Thank you.
With that, we can continue for a couple of minutes with this panel, then we'll go on to our second panel. We've already got a little taste of the second panel talking about technology, but when you think back to why you left the company where you most recently left, I know some of the people in the room have been in the same company for a long, long time, like Howard here. How many years at Club Med? 30. 30 years, so he's not experienced leaving a company yet. And I had a conversation over breakfast with a young woman and why she left because the company went in. But why do people leave your companies? And what do you do about that is a good question, obviously, right? If there's not any last thoughts on this panel, we'll go ahead and move to the second panel. Oh, there you go, good.
Joanna Borges from Calvin. I think it also, you touched on compensation and you touched on, flexibility and everything, but it also goes back to recognition of all generations. Because, we talk about the young generation, we talk about, integrating them into the baby boomers, but it's really knowing all of the generations, as we said, and recognizing employees for going above and beyond for the organization. Because I think we're all working right now, limited resources, very lean, the financial situation is bad everywhere, right? So I think that's really has to be a mix there of recognizing our employees for their hard work.
I don't know. I mean, I have seen many companies in the last few years implementing recognition programs and using, for instance, online tools. Like they use kind of a social network, corporate social network. I don't know how many of you, they have incorporated that, or they are using that, but it's raising that concern. People, they need to be more recognized. Particularly when you think about the younger generation, they need responses much faster than the older generations. They are used to that. So typically, for instance, the typical performance management program, that they will have an annual review and they will have a mid-year review, that doesn't meet the needs from the younger generations. You need to do something different in order to make sure that they feel that they are recognized. And so companies are doing like these things. Implemented corporate social media, so they get instant recognition, which is, connected with the needs from the younger generation. Coming back to leadership, we discussed earlier before that people leave because of the quality of the leaders, and I see companies that they have invested significant amount of money over the last several years in improving the quality of the leadership. So for instance, probably if we ask today how many of you use Moody's or feedback, probably most of the audience will use Moody's or feedback. If you ask the same question 10 years ago, probably smaller percentage. If you ask how many of you use personality testing, so people get more self-aware of themselves, and then they can improve their leadership skills. Probably it's also quite extended. So I see a lot of emphasis in organizations in improving the quality of the leadership, and primarily focusing on getting leaders to be more aware about who they are and how they lead, and also what is the expectation from those who are being led.
I was talking over breakfast. I have two sons. One who's going to graduate from college in May, the other year after him. And there's people who want to focus on, we've got terrorism, we've got poverty, we've got climate change, all these terrible things. But I think that the generation that we're talking about, that we're sort of trying to struggle with a little bit, the opportunities before them are just enormous. The pace of change is so fast now. And the number of people being brought into the global economy and having being brought up from abject poverty to poverty, from poverty to the middle class, lower middle class is amazing. But it puts such strains on people, and so your job as HR directors become that much harder because you've got to find the right people, you've got to figure out ways to keep those right people, and so you've got to employ all these many strategies you can. And I guess with some of the younger people, you have to have these sort of this social media as part of your way to recognize them and so forth. So, tell you what, so we'll take a quick break. Unless anybody has any last closing comments for this panel, we'll go right to the second panel. You don't have to go anywhere. If you want to go to the restroom or if you want to get a cup of coffee or something, you're welcome to, but you're happy, you can stay right there and we'll just jump right to the second panel. And I want to thank Martine for leading everything.